Yesterday, Donald Trump gave an interview where he said that the United States Postal Service going private wouldn't be that bad of an idea, and I think he'd have an uphill battle with that, but I really hope people are paying attention to what he means, because this is like the third or fourth government agency that he suggested taking private, and we should really be concerned about that much public money going to private companies, especially when his cabinet is full of billionaires who are going to benefit from it. The U.S. Postal Service helps some of the most remote and rural areas of the United States stay connected to the rest of us, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this is coming after mail-in ballots became the preferred way of voting for a lot of people in this country. They've been telling us since the 80s and 90s that the war on drugs, the war on crime, the war on Iraq, the war on immigration were all necessary, but really we're just pulling public resources into private companies, and now that our government's actually run by a bunch of billionaires, we really need to pay attention to the messaging that they're giving us when they're trying to convince us these things are good for us. For the billionaire ruling class, it's all about the control of information and money, so I really hope you're paying attention because they're telling us the truth right to our faces.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
All right, well, Trump just took over the post office. I don't know if that means we're getting a revamp within the USPS, or if that means we're one step closer to privatizing it. I just want to say I'm 38 years old. I've worked for the government for 15 years, 5 in the military, 10 for the post office. I want to say that it's been great. I love my customers. I love my job. And I work for the greatest country in the world. So hopefully I get to continue to do that. And, I hope this changes for the better, not the worse.
So why does Trump have beef with the post office? Let's get into it. So there are two main reasons why Trump has beef with the post office. Number one has something to do with Amazon. So basically, Trump thinks that the post office should raise their own money for funding by increasing the cost of shipping packages for secondary companies like FedEx, UPS, and Amazon. They can't do this because if they were to raise the cost, then those companies would go figure out their own way to mail packages and they would stop using the post service completely. However, he basically wants to do this because he wants to sabotage Jeff Bezos and Amazon, because Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post and he feels that the Washington Post posts fake news about him. This string of logic has actually been confirmed by officials from the administration. Second reason is mail-in voting. Basically, if you don't have a post office, you can commit voter suppression with mail-in voting during a pandemic, because everyone knows that mail-in voting is going to increase voter turnout, meaning that he is more likely to lose re-election. If the post office isn't functioning and people can't vote by mail, he has a stronger chance of winning. This is voter suppression.
So, Trump wants to privatize the post office. The Constitution says that the post office needs to be public. It can't be privatized.
Apparently, Donald Trump wants to fire the entire board of the Postal Service. And in doing this, he wants to move the post office in the Commerce Department, which basically it would be under his control. This is actually very unconstitutional because Congress is supposed to kind of oversee the post office. And the post office itself is an independent agency. And the reason it's an independent agency is to do just what Donald Trump is trying to do. It's trying to stop political influences. And I really do think the reason Donald Trump is trying to control the post office, because he always had a problem with mail-in ballots and, oversee ballots, because this is where he always, come up short on. So I feel it's a way for him to control. Now, mind you, remember in 2 years now, we're going to have, voting on the House and the Senate. And I really just don't trust Donald Trump. So to check your facts, or to fact check me actually, look in the Constitution under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7, where it states that Congress have the power to establish post offices. Double check on me on this. This is not Donald Trump right to put it under the Department of Commerce, where he's going to be basically in charge of this. This is a huge conflict of interest. It's a huge conflict of interest. And personally, I don't want Donald Trump in charge of my mail. That's just me. Anyway, again, you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see what happens later, what I can bring you guys tomorrow. All right. Thank you guys again for, the follow. And if you haven't followed me yet, give me a follow. Give me a follow. I'd appreciate it. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
A thing that we're not talking about when it comes to, Trump and his administration trying to slow down the post office, not only, does it seem like they're trying to do that as a ploy to basically rip the fabric of our democracy by trying to somehow suppress the vote of people who mail in ballot, but by messing with the postal service, you're also messing with people's lives. People get medication from the post office. Not everybody pull up to Walgreens and Walmart and go in and gets their medications. Some prescribed medications from physicians to patients arrive via the mail. Some people still get paper checks. Now, baby, I don't know who's still getting a paper check, but I hear they still get them. Some people get, important documents from government agencies or even businesses that ship and mail, via USPS to their customers. So it goes far beyond just the vote. Like, it messes with people's lives. We all depend on the USPS and of course FedEx and UPS. But the USPS is the government, baby. So I think we really should be talking about this and making some more noise about it.
Maybe he should off-sell the post office to like UPS or FedEx or Amazon. Yeah. I mean, genuinely. Because what do you mean I went up in there? They were still open. I needed to get like a mailer, like a little slip to like ship something in. And homie goes, oh no, the store is closed. You all said that you closed at 6 o'clock. Everything up in here should be available until 6 o'clock. So here I am this morning. Just shipping my stuff because now the store and the post office are open. It makes no sense.
President-elect Donald Trump has recently floated the idea of privatizing the United States Postal Service, and if that happens, it could spell big trouble for millions of Americans. Privatizing the USPS wouldn't just mean higher costs and worse service, it would put thousands of jobs at risk and hurt everybody, especially those in rural areas who rely on affordable mail delivery. The USPS is a public service designed to serve everyone, no matter where they live. It's not about making a profit, it's about making sure that every person in the country can receive and send mail, even if they live in the most remote corners of the United States. Private companies like FedEx and UPS have no interest in delivering to these areas unless it's profitable. If the USPS were privatized, many of these areas could lose reliable mail service or face prices that are way too high. But it's not just about the cost of postage. The USPS also provides good jobs for hundreds of thousands of workers, many of whom are in unions with fair pay and job security. These jobs are especially important for communities of color, like Black Americans, who have long had higher representation in the postal workforce than in other industries. If privatization happens, these workers' jobs could be replaced by low-wage, unstable jobs with no protections. And let's be honest, how many times have we heard our aunties and them tell us to get a job at the post office? They always talk about the benefits, the union protections, and the pension, highlighting just how valuable these jobs are to families in various communities. There's also the bigger economic picture to consider. Small businesses, especially in rural areas, rely on the USPS for affordable mail services. If these services were cut off or made too expensive, many small businesses could shut down and local economies could suffer. Many of these areas depend on the post office to ship medications and other essential items as well. Trump's plans to privatize the USPS is especially hypocritical. He claims to stand up for the working class, but privatizing the postal service would hurt workers and make it harder for people, especially people in rural areas, to get the services that they need. It's hard to imagine how cutting thousands of jobs and raising prices helps regular Americans. Instead of privatizing the postal service, we should be looking at ways to improve and expand it. We should be funding it more, not demanding a public service be profitable or else. Privatizing the USPS is a terrible idea that would hurt families, workers, and small businesses. We need to protect and expand the postal service, ensuring that it continues to serve the American people for generations to come.
I can't wait to see the faces of all those people who for years were yelling and screaming that the post office needs to make money. It needs to be a business. It needs to make money. Why isn't the post office making money? It needs to make money. We need to get Trump in there because he's a businessman and he knows how to make money. I can't wait to see your faces when you're paying 5 times the amount to send a package. When stamps are $5. Just remember, the post office will start making money. It'll start making money when they're closing all of these post offices around the country. When Jeff Bezos and Amazon take over the postal service, you're going to remember that it was the United States Postal Service. It was providing a service to all Americans, no matter where you lived. You had a right to send and receive mail in this country, thanks to one Benjamin Franklin. So just remember, you wanted the post office to start making money. It's going to thanks to you, who's going to be paying a lot more for the same service. Actually, a worse service because they're going to be closing down a lot of them, but you get the point. Greatness is here.
I am all for cutting costs and saving a lot of money. But at the end of the day, we have to do it in a very strategic way so we don't get caught off guard and so things function as normal, as they should.
McDonald Trump is expected to take direct control of the U.S. Postal Service, and this could spell trouble for the nation. Let me break this down for you a bit. Recent reports reveal that McDonald Trump plans to dissolve the Postal Service's independent leadership and merge it into the Commerce Department. This move would end the agency's 250-year independence, possibly jeopardizing operations and ending its neutrality. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has been tasked with evaluating this merger's prospects. This isn't just about mail delivery, though. It's about maintaining a critical public service. The USPS handles essential communications, delivers packages nationwide, and plays a vital role in our elections by managing mail-in ballots. Placing it under direct political control could lead to biased decision-making, affecting service quality and fairness. Supporters of this, they argue that the USPS has been a tremendous loser, with financial losses exceeding $100 billion since 2007. They believe that integrating it into the Commerce Department could streamline operations and reduce these deficits. They also point out that Postmaster General DeJoy has implemented cost-cutting measures aimed at financial stability. But here's the reality of it. The Postal Service is a public service, not a political tool. Its independence ensures unbiased services for all Americans. Merging it into a political department could compromise its integrity and reliability. So we need to stay informed, discuss this issue, and let's ensure our Postal Service remains free from political influence, and let's not let this fly under the radar.
The Trump administration is planning to fire 5 members of the independent government board that oversees the U.S. Postal Service. The Washington Post reported late Thursday, citing numerous anonymous sources, that the president planned to disband the Postal Regulatory Commission and place the agency under the direct control of the Commerce Department. Of course, we know since the start of Trump's administration, he has planned to get rid of the U.S. Postal Service and privatize it. But this is a big thing because that'll cost Americans on average more money. I'm sure many of you, including myself, frequently use the U.S. Postal Service. And me being someone who lives in a more rural area, it makes it easier for me to get stuff for a less expensive price because I don't have things closely accessible to me like stores. So, I mean, it's not great, but we've known it's going to happen. It's going to happen. This is just the first step to it. So we'll see where it goes. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all soon. Goodbye, everyone.
A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
USPS. Trump privatizing the USPS, not a bad idea. Really? Donald Trump said at a news conference at Mar-a-Lago that there was talk about privatizing the USPS, the United States Postal Service, because it was losing money. I wonder who came up with an idea to privatize this. Donald Trump actually talked about it in his first term, and it got no congressional support. I wonder, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, I bet they live in rural areas where they need to get mail. I bet they really care about prices, that if it was privatized, that they would have to pay significantly more to get mail if mail service is even possible. You live in a rural part of the United States and you depend upon the mail to deliver your particular mail, your prescriptions, packages, other things that you can't get locally, and you complain about the price may be high now. You wait until we have it privatized, if this were to pass, and you can only get mail through FedEx, through UPS, through other companies that may be created, or through Amazon. You watch the difference in prices that you would see, not to mention the service. You would not be happy. But do you think Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy care about the price to deliver things? Do you think they live in a rural area where this would even be a problem? No. Elon Musk is the richest man on earth. He has whatever delivered to him, and he doesn't care what the price or what the cost is. You and I have to be concerned about prices, about cost, and how long it takes to get to us. Is this what you want? Did you vote to end the U.S. Postal Service as we know it? Clearly, Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy think you did. And do you think they're concerned with any prices or anything? No, they're not. This is what you get when you get a few billionaires running the country that we've now got. And I'm going to talk about Donald Trump's oligarchs in another video. But into the Postal Service as we know it and privatize it, is that what you want? Again, the Postal Service was originally established by Congress under the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7, that gives Congress the right to establish a postal system and post roads. We've had a postal system in the United States for more than 237 years. The first postmaster general was Benjamin Franklin. And again, this was a public service. It was not created to make money, even though it is predominantly funded through the postal fees that we pay, and it does receive some additional help from Congress. But it is a public service. It was not intended to be a money maker like FedEx. If you want to pay FedEx prices for everything, you go check the prices. You want to pay this for your mail? You want to pay this for your packages? Because that's what you would get. Is this what you voted for when you voted for Donald Trump? No. You just were purely voting against Kamala Harris, voting against a woman perhaps, and didn't realize at all what you're going to get. You've F8 FO'd. You're going to F'd around and you're going to find out what you get. And what you get is not what you thought you were going to get. You're going to love it. I know. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. Did you vote to end the Postal Service as we know it as a public service and want it privatized where you can pay significantly more to get your mail and your packages? Is that what you really voted for? Tell Donald Trump. He thinks you did.
We have some news right now. The Trump administration is actively planning to do away with the USPS Board of Governors, reduce its independence, and take the USPS, the Postal Service, and put it under the Commerce Department, giving Donald Trump and the executive full control of this once independent agency. According to the Washington Post, the Trump administration is preparing an executive order to sign as soon as next week that would fire the entire Board of Governors at the USPS. It would move the Postal Service from an independent sector in the government under the Department of Commerce, thereby giving the executive full authority over the Postal Service. Now, the next steps following this likely executive order are unclear. Earlier this year, or rather last year, Donald Trump mulled the possibility of potentially privatizing the USPS, the Postal Service. If one were to try to privatize the Postal Service, this is kind of the way they would start doing it, by moving it under the Department of Commerce, by removing its independence, by firing the Board of Governors. I'll do a full breakdown on what this means on my Substack shortly, so be sure to subscribe for free at the link in my bio. As always, follow along to stay up to date on all the news you need to know about.
Yeah, this is how you find out Trump is thinking about privatizing the United States Postal Service. Actually, that came out a day ago, so I'm kind of late to the party. For those who are just finding out, because I know there's at least one or two of y'all here. Earlier this week, Trump announced that there were talks about the USPS being privatized because it's not making a profit. Kind of oxymoronic to complain about a public goods not making a profit, but that's just me. I'm not ever currently mulling over the negatives of privatizing what should be a public goods. That's just crazy. Don't we already have 3 different brands that make a business out of delivering postal goods? Why do we need to make a 4th? Also, the effect that this is going to have on the wide populace is going to be so lopsided. Metropolitan residents might not be stricken with so many inconveniences, but for the rural ruffians that live out in the sticks, oh, it's going to be cooked. USPS decides it's going to cost more for you to ship something out because you're too far out from the rest of civilization. What you finna do? Try to hold a private business accountable? Wait a minute, this is not looking kind of great. I hope this doesn't leave the boundaries of just a talking stage, because I don't need to see this happen in real life.
What's up? It's your favorite rapping mailman. And I know a lot of y'all are probably wondering, what's up with the post office? What's going on? What if they privatize it? I'm going to tell you why I think that's a bad idea. Like, your mailman might start charging you more. Like, what if your mailman moves like Uber? What if he's like, oh, you want to send this card to your grandma? $12.99 because it's raining. That junk mail that you throw away, it might come with some stuff you need to look at. So before you just throw the ads away, give it a little bit of time, because you might need it in this economy. Another reason the Pony Express might make a comeback with subscription fees. Like, you need a letter delivered, sign up for the Express Hoof You know, $20 standard ponies might take 3 to 5 business days. I mean, your zip code could determine if you even get mail. Hey, your area isn't profitable enough, but go ahead and drive to the post office to come pick it up. Some might live like 45 minutes away. What if your postage stamps became like NFTs? Gotta buy a blockchain, $75, and you might get your mail. Maybe. I mean, at the end of the day, privatizing the USPS is just a disaster waiting to happen. Unless you like expensive mail.
So Donald Trump just said he is looking into privatizing the United States Postal Service, which would negatively impact his own voters. So during his press conference this morning at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump said the following, quote, "There is talk about taking the United States Postal Service and turning it private. Not the worst idea I've ever heard." End quote. Well, actually, it would be the worst thing in the world for rural voters, which are a lot of Donald Trump's voters, because they rely on the USPS, which delivers them items, packages, prescriptions, and bills for free. But if you privatize the USPS, well, then that company could start charging fees for those who live in rural or remote areas because it takes longer to get to those areas. They are further away from the urban areas. So when Donald Trump suggests he's going to privatize the United States Postal Service, that will likely lead to his own supporters having to pay more for their mail and have a tougher time getting it. Yet another plan of Donald Trump's that is going to negatively impact the people that voted for him.
Recent reporting is saying that Donald Trump is trying to take over the Postal Service, bring it under the Commerce Department, and then privatize it. Similar to how he's trying to privatize the VA so it can be run for profit as opposed to being run for the citizen or the veteran. Now, we should be clear that the White House is adamantly saying that this is not true, although they've also said that he wasn't a part of Project 2025 and everything they're doing is Project 2025 now. So I don't think we can really take his word for it. There's a couple reasons this is a big deal. If the Postal Service becomes for profit, that means prices are going to go up. That means the consumer has no government or protections on how and when they mail their packages. There's another big issue here. There's places that UPS and FedEx and Amazon just won't go. Like, you're talking like places out in Alaska or in the middle of Wyoming, like places where it's just not economically feasible for them to do it financially, so they don't do it, right? And that's places where the USPS steps in and takes care of it for them. Anyway, there's a number of U.S. citizens that rely on the Postal Service for packages to and from their families, yada, yada, but also for bigger things like their prescriptions, right? Things that they need to live, their medications. So what's going to happen when that becomes privatized and there's no federal entity to deliver that stuff for them? My daughter just called me boring. You want to say hi? Anyway, don't forget to like, follow, and comment. Please repost this video, share it with somebody else. If you're interested in supporting me through the campaign, be sure to DM me your email address for now, your email, your name, and your state, and I'll get you added to the mailing list. Again, I'm going to try to get a link up there that does some AI thing someone told me about that does all this for me, because it's a nightmare to go through my DMs. But I'm doing it now, and I'm going through them all. There's a lot of them. I will get to yours, and you'll know when I do because I will respond to you. So feel free to leave something cool in there too, alongside your email. Anyway, thank you very much, and as always, we will talk soon.
If the post office goes private, we are in serious trouble. The price to mail a package will be a lot higher, and the workers will get paid a lot less. Significantly less. $5 to like $10 less. I don't want to pay more just to mail the same package.
So, it's funny, I scratch my head every time I start my videos. I just noticed that. But, hey, we are dealing with what happens when a business person who's a billionaire and has billionaire friends gets in office. Trump has now, we heard that through the hearings that they dealt with the Postmaster General, that the U.S. Post Office lost $8 billion last year. Well, it cost, I would just say it cost U.S. taxpayers $8 billion, right? Which I have no issue with. And the reason I have no issue with it is because most of the money, they said they've lost over $100 billion since 2007. And once again, I don't have an issue with it. It sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But we also have to understand the reason why. I'll go into that in a second. But Trump is thinking about privatizing the U.S. Postal Service. about privatizing it. And I guess they're saying, hey, that's to help with efficiency, right? Or is it, hey, I have billionaire buddies and we would love to get them in on this. And he tried to go and say, well, now that things are changed, with places like Amazon and stuff like that, maybe there's more efficient way to doing this, right? Wrong. Now, let me go into where most of the spending is going. Most of the spending that we have for what's dealing with the post office is modernizing the process. So, like he said, through companies like Amazon and stuff like that, we're able to do a lot more efficiency when it comes to cost and stuff like that, because now there's a lot of machines and stuff that make the process that much more smooth, and there's not a lot of hands-on from start to finish, right? But the problem is, sorry, I'm trying not to die out here. The problem is, when you modernize, it costs money. Robots and all that type of stuff, that costs money. And that's where most of the cost from USPS is coming from. It's from modernizing their industry. But this is at the same time that the Postal Service doesn't make that much money. They don't make that much. And why don't they make that much money? And this is why I actually think I would actually laugh if the U.S. Postal Service was to become private, because it wouldn't work. Why wouldn't it work? Because it would be too expensive. It would be too expensive to take on, because everyone gets mail. This is a government agency because, for one, we have to have agencies that aren't about money all the time. Everything, yes, we are trying to not blow our budget, right? We're $30 trillion in debt, or more than that, almost 40 now, right? So we are trying to find ways where we can be more efficient. The Department of Government Efficiency, right? We're trying to be more efficient with our money. But some things are inevitable. If we have a postal service that delivers mail to every house, every business, everybody, right? Post office box, the mail gets delivered to everybody, and we charge a certain amount per stamp. I don't even use stamps, so I don't even know where it's at right now, probably like 45 cents. But people have to realize that once you go up a little, every penny you go up on how much it costs for a stamp, you lose like 20, 50,000 people that stop using mail. It's a crazy number like that. You lose so much business just because you went up a penny. So all the money that you would have made by adding that penny, you actually end up losing, because you lose people who are willing to spend that. Because you have things like email and stuff like that. So most people don't even want to use the mail system anymore, because they just go green and they just get it sent through an email or through a text message or something along those lines. So if a company was to take that on, they would literally lose money, because they would take on this project and no one would be using their product. It's different with Amazon, where people literally are paying a service every year. They pay, I think Amazon Prime is like $180 now, and then they're paying for shipping. $6 here, $8 there. And trust me, when you ship packages through the Postal Service, they make money, but it hasn't made more than its cost to send mail to every single person. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about everybody gets mail almost every day. So yeah, you can't eliminate that by privatizing. But once again, this is what happens when you give a president who cares more about money than anything. And it's not even money for us, it's money for his friends. This is not making government more efficient. And even if it is making the government more cost efficient, the cost is being put onto us as citizens. So if we're not paying it through the government as a service, we will be costing more out of our pockets. So imagine right now, it costs like, sorry, somebody sent me a message. Imagine right now it costs what, 45 cents to send a piece of mail, right? If Amazon or anybody, DHL, UPS, any of these other postal companies or delivery services were to decide to, hey, all right, well, we're going to deliver mail to everyone in the country, they would charge probably $1, $2 for a piece of mail. And the problem is, it will be such a necessity that they can't get rid of it. We can't just be like, oh, well, we're not going to pay for it. And even if we do, guess what? Boom. Now what? Now who's going to deliver mail? So these are the types of things that he thinks be great ideas, that he comes up with, that shows that he's not a good business person. He's not a good business person. He makes money by literally stealing from people. So this is the guy y'all picked. I almost would love for him to get rid of the Postal Service and privatize it so people can see how stupid it is of an idea. But that's neither here nor there. I'll see y'all later.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.